Hey, Service Advisor Nation, what's happening? Thank you for tuning into another episode of the AutoFix Advisor Cast with your host, Michael Doherty. Hopefully, everyone's doing well, staying healthy, and taking care of one another. I saw a quote this weekend that prompted me to, come up with an episode. The quote is: "Opportunities often come in disguise, only those who recognize them succeed." Again, opportunities often come in disguise. Only those who recognize them succeed. Interesting quote. And I think it definitely pertains to service advisors and, automotive industry in general. So when we talk about opportunities, one thing that's definitely on the top of my mind to consider is this. And I went ahead and put some notes together for this episode in particular. But I wanted to talk to the service advisors in service advisor land today about price shoppers. Yes, those people that call and you could tell that they're just price shoppers. And how do we look at them as opportunities, right? What is our job? It's to build and maintain client relationships. So how do we do that with price shoppers? So price shoppers in particular, again, I feel like they're an opportunity in disguise. And, talking about that, they're, I would say maybe lost treasure hunters, I think is kind of a cool way to look at it, if you would. And, I think everybody's gotten the phone call of, hey, just how much for brakes, and you start asking qualifying questions, they're not going to give you their name. They're not kind of going to give you context of what's going on. Not going to tell you about the car. They just want a price, basically. Hey, how much you guys just charge for a brake job, right? I just need a price. I just need a price. So how do we handle that professionally and create that opportunity? So I think a lot of time with price shoppers in particular, it's somebody that has been taken advantage of by our industry, right? Look, their guard is immediately up. They've had a past bad experience. They've been unfortunately conditioned to equate price to value, which is not correct. And truly, I mean, you gotta get the price shopper mentality out of your head, right? It's they're not shopping for price. I think they're shopping for confidence, right? Because again, they've had a bad experience. They've been taken advantage of. And, I mean, let's be honest, the shop that you work at, you're supposed to be viewing that shop as the best shop in town, right? Hopefully you've got that methodology. They've called the right place. You want to convey that. You feel confident as a service advisor that you're at the best place in town. We got the best shop, right? So when there's a price shopper on the phone, 9 times out of 10, it's not an apples to apples comparison, right? I mean, they're, I guess, ultimately comparing your expertly installed brake job to, we'll call it a backyard mechanic in possible vape lounge, you know? So again, I mean, if it's just about price, is not going to work out. And again, how do we develop that mind shift, right? How do we get that barrier down and talk with them more on a client level? So, again, think about this, from a price shopper's perspective, again, as a service advisor, that call coming in, once you get enough of them, it seems like an annoyance. But again, it's your job as a service advisor to transform their mindset. It's not all about price. And, every call, is a request for help. I mean, that's what that call is, the price shopper, right? They're, again, been misled. They've had a bad experience. They're just confused. They don't know really what to do. And it's up to us to deliver confidence, deliver value, and invite them in, right? So again, every call that comes in for a price shopper, I feel is like a request for help. It's not a test, right? They're looking for, I really believe like they're looking for someone to trust more than they are for somebody to underbid the next shop that they might call, right? So, one thing I think, especially for service advisors, is with that is, you know, lead with clarity, not cost, ask good questions, right? Uncover the needs of the individual, and show value, right? Don't quote price, paint the picture of what your business does and how you do it and how you take care of clients. And again, break down those barriers, break down those fences, if you would, on the other end of the phone. I think conversions, for price shoppers, there's kind of three things to definitely keep in mind when they're on the phone. And again, it's being transparent, right? When you pick up that phone, you have to be in the mindset to take care of whatever is going to be happening for that phone call. So again, if you're in the middle of doing an estimate, if you're in the middle of if you're at the front desk, with somebody and that phone rings and you pick it up, you have to change your mindset automatically. You got to change your mindset as a service advisor and be ready to accommodate that phone call again, like it's really important, because it is. And if you don't have the time with the task that you're currently doing to take on to take on the additional task of answering the phone, I wouldn't recommend doing it, because again, it's you're being qualified, right, by that person that's calling in for services, or even again a price shopper, right? So again, very important, if you're in the middle of doing something and that phone rings and you're going to answer it, right, with intent to convert and get them on the books for an appointment, and exude value and exude confidence and get them in the shop, then by all means pick up the phone. If you're just going through the motions and man, the phone's ringing, second ring, third ring, you pick it up, I wouldn't say annoyed, but again, you've got to pick it up. But again, if you don't have the clarity in your own mind, don't pick it up. Really, don't pick it up, because it's your shot. It's your shot. It's your opportunity. But for conversions, I think for price shoppers, right, I think there's 3 C's, if you would. There's curiosity, there's confidence, and there's connection. So, right, again, the curiosity part on the service advisor side, asking the price shopper, right? Get involved, right? Ask about their situation. You know, oh, yeah, we can definitely figure that out for you, Mr. and Mrs. Jones. Tell us, please, what's going on with the vehicle? Why do you need brakes? I just need a price. I just need a price. Okay, well, again, I'm here to help you out. I want to help you out. I need a little more information, so help me help you, right? And again, talk about symptoms. Why do you need brakes? I'm trying to understand more. Are you getting a shake when you're braking? Did you go somewhere else and they told you they're worn out? Are you hearing a grinding? I mean, ask questions, because when you start asking quality questions, you should get quality responses, right? So that's the first C, right? Curiosity. You being curious to them and asking the right questions. Number 2 is the confidence factor, right? Again, that's the building value part in that conversation. Share what makes your shop different, right? The great warranty that you guys have, the technicians that are certified, the equipment that you guys have, the customer experience that you deliver. And the third C, so again, first one's curiosity, second one's confidence, third one I think is going to be connection, right? Make it a human transaction. Don't sound very script reading, right? Don't go through the motions just to go through the motions. Build rapport, form a connection somehow. Find out what vehicle it is. I mean, that's going to be imperative, and they may not know that, because again, they're just calling you and they're hoping for a price. But again, it's building that connection, it's building that rapport. And, again, I think a lot of it too is, building in the trust, just being genuine in that conversation. And, again, for price shoppers, some things that you're probably going to hear is, how much for brakes, right? Or how much for air filter, or how much for whatever, right? So, I mean, I think on the service advisor standpoint, definitely we need to let them know that, hey, we need to take a closer look at your vehicle to determine your exact needs. Do you have a few minutes so I can get a better understanding of what's going on? Right. And yeah, I've had those situations where I ask all those great questions and still somebody just won't give you the information on the other end of the phone, and they just want a price. I just want a price. I just want a price. At that point, I think you have determined that it's not your customer. Right. And again, it's okay. Not everybody's going to be your customer. The ones that understand why you're asking those questions, and then ones that understand that you're trying to build rapport, you're trying to build value, you're trying to accommodate, right? Those are the ones that are going to be conversions. But again, don't get upset. It was fastly a pet peeve of mine early in my career, trying to extract the easiest of information from some of these people that I would get phone calls for just price stuff. And, you can't get upset about it. It's going to happen. But I think the majority, if you handle it the right way and ask the right questions, and again, implement those 3 C's that we talked about, for converting them right, the curiosity, again, asking about their situation, asking about the symptoms, the vehicle, the previous, where have they been? Did you have a bad experience somewhere? Is that why you won't give me this information, right? It's okay to ask questions. Just don't be a dick about it. Confidence, right? Again, you're exuding confidence. You called the right place, Mr. and Mrs. Jones. We're going to figure this out together, And again, common ground, right? Talk about vehicles that you have. Hey, not too long ago, I was calling around for brakes somewhere, just trying to get some prices for my wife's vehicle. We don't work on her car here, but whatever you got to come up with. But again, just kind of break the ice, right? But again, confidence in your facility. You call the right place, man. Let me tell you about our accolades. Let me tell you about our loaner program. Let me tell you about, again, your offsetting price with value. Super, super important. And the connection, again, make it a human connection. Use their name, build rapport in the conversation. But, again, you're not chasing the sale. You're offering a solution. And for people that understand that, it's going to be a conversion. And don't get upset when they won't give you the information. At that point, make that determination after you've tried a couple times, different ways to get, questions answered to accommodate them, to kind of feel out the situation. And if it just ends up being not a great continued conversation, then it's okay to say, hey, I appreciate the phone call, but I just don't feel that we're going to be able to help you because I'm just trying to identify some basic questions here, and we can't get past that, right? Again, it's okay. Not everybody is your client, and you're not, again, being a dick to them. You're letting them know that you're a professional business. You value their time as well as your own, and move the conversation along. But, again, with price shoppers, you set the tone, right? They called you, you're the professional, you set the tone. It's not the price race, right? And, if you get the questions answered, if you're still not feeling like they're really feeling you guys, meaning the shop or whatever, and they say, hey, I'm going to call around, I'll get back to you. Again, a great response for that, right? I totally understand. Hey, just remember, there's a reason people come back to us even when they've called around. And again, that opens up the curiosity part, right? I mean, why is this person being so confident about this shop? You're trying to get a mind shift change over to them, right? And again, developing value, building value, and that's going to work, right? And again, if it doesn't for them, they're not your client. It's okay. Don't get upset about it, but it gives you a chance to practice and practice, right? It's I got a live one. I got a live one on the phone. Email wise, it's a lot harder to do. And again, I mentioned in previous episodes, I think, you've got people that are introverts. Again, nothing wrong with that aren't going to call you on the phone to get those things figured out. You might just get an email, very blank, filled out email template, if you've got, appointment request form on your website or something, and just a very basic information, your make, model, and just needs breaks, at that point, I would probably email them back and say, thanks for the information. I'm going to give you a call for some follow-up questions. And again, you'll build that value over the phone. I mean, if they insist on email, again, just, be creative with it. Again, envision like you're talking to them on the phone, the questions that you would ask, and just implement that into the email that you would use, and, kind of take it from there. But again, right, price shoppers, I really don't feel that they're not an opportunity. Everything's an opportunity when that phone rings. Again, service advisors, it's how we connect with them. It's how we answer the questions or ask the questions, anticipating their responses. And again, it's practice, but practice makes perfect. And, again, it's an opportunity. So look at it like an opportunity, not a inconvenience, right? You're going to get the call this week at some point if you haven't already. Hey, I just need a price. I got my car at the dealer. They said this is going on. Again, they're frustrated, right? They're frustrated. Figure out what's frustrating them. build value, connect, be a human, convert. And again, please, 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 please implement those 3 C's: curiosity, confidence, and connection. That equals success, right? And again, even if they don't come in, it gives you a chance to practice and perfect your craft. So the next time you get a price shopper caller, you're that much better ahead of the game. And Service Advisor Nation, I really appreciate you for tuning into another episode of the AutoFix Advisor Cast. It is now June in North Carolina. It is walked out this morning, opened the front door, and just got hit with the humidity. It's upon us. So again, for clients that you're taking care of, if you've got the equipment, AC machines, R134A, the 1234YF refrigerant, please, 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 when you're checking in clients' cars, get the AC on. Don't just crank up the car, take a pic of the mileage and move it to the back of the parking lot. Promise the car will talk to you. Crank it up, put the HVAC on, sit in it for a little bit, and make sure the AC's, cold or cooling. If it's not, again, reach out, let them know, hey, I was in your car checking it in and I noticed that your AC doesn't seem to be cooling like it should. While it's here, would you like us to do a free on level check and adjust? That price point would be X. Again, you're looking out for them, right? So again, being proactive. But again, Service Advisor Nation, truly, thank you again so much. And I wish you a fantastic upcoming week. Keep those bays full. Keep those customers cool. No pun intended. And take care of one another. All right. Appreciate you guys. All right. See you later.